to Tokyo now, where this morning we saw Dame Sarah Storey become the most successful British Paralympian of all time after winning the 17th gold medal of her career, 29 years after winning her first. And guess what? We can cross live to Tokyo and speak to her right now. Sarah, it's so brilliant to see you. First of all, a massive, massive congratulations. It is an incredible achievement, one that will go down in British sporting history. How does it feel? Has it sunk in yet?
It's definitely not sunk in. It's been the most incredible day. It started in the fog, the mist, the wet, the hail, and driving sideways rain, and it's finished in a hotel room near the airport, so I can fly home tomorrow. But yeah, I'm hoping some time on the plane with the rather heavy luggage will help me get it to sink in.
I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. And you mentioned the conditions there. Talk us through the race this morning, because I joked earlier saying maybe you're used to it, you know, doing your winter rides in the Peak District, being based up in Manchester. But what was that like?
Yeah, I was joking in the pits before the race with the staff, saying I'd sort of asked for these conditions in London and been given 25 degrees. So finally, Tokyo produces it. But yeah, I wasn't fazed by the rain. I actually quite enjoy racing in the rain. You know, when there's no vehicles around, it's quite different, and the roads look quite different. And I've got all faith in my equipment. I've got great tyres on my bike that I know will stick to the surface, and I can go around the corners in the wet just as quick as I can in the dry. So I was quite happy with the conditions. There were times where riding with your eyes closed wasn't ideal, but yeah, it was more just that the other riders there as well were. The spray off the wheels was probably one of the biggest challenges, but yeah, it was great to be able to cross the line first.
I do love those pictures of you with your eyes shut, because they are just absolutely brilliant. In terms of the record, it's been spoken about so much throughout the Paralympic Games, of course, out in Tokyo, but way before that as well, and overtaking Mike Kenny and getting those 17 golds. Going through those three races out in Tokyo, what was your mindset, and especially this morning, was it something that you thought about when you're on that start line?
Yeah, it's certainly been there since it became a mathematical possibility after I won 3 gold medals in Rio. And people were saying, so then are you carrying on? Is the record on? What's it going to be? And I was like, oh, well, you will see. Because at that point I knew I'd like to have another baby. So when I came back from having Charlie, and I was, a lot heavier than I had been after having had Louisa. So I just started to work gradually to try and build back up again. And obviously the pandemic delayed the games. I was thinking, oh, maybe it'll be a year too late. But thankfully, everything came together, and we adjusted my plan. And while I've been here, I've just been focusing on one race at a time. I haven't been, sort of overwhelmed with lots of people talking about a record to me, even if my ears haven't been burning if it's been spoken about outside of my knowledge. So it was about focusing on one race at a time. And I think it was only as I was coming up the finish straight, I realised, as I sort of kept looking over my shoulder to check that the race was mine, that, oh my goodness, this is number 3. This is the 14 plus 3. It's probably when I started to realise that it was happening.
14 plus 3, love it, equals 17. And you mentioned Louisa, you mentioned Charlie there, and we spoke to your husband Barney a little bit earlier on Sky Sports News, and of course he said how just incredibly proud he is of you. But he also said this has been the toughest games by far by not being there with you. Just how hard has it been for you?
Yeah, it's been an incredibly tough games. I mean, I was really fortunate the team completely understood how hard it was for me to come into the games in the way that we were. It was a completely different plan to plan A, which was, in 2019 when we were looking a year ahead to Tokyo 2020. I had an out-of-village plan as I'd had in Rio. I had my own logistics to enable me to be mum as well as athlete. And basically all of those logistics had to be torn up as late as June, really, because we were just waiting to see if anything improved, if spectators of family spectators might be a possibility. And when that came down, the team were really good in saying, no, we appreciate what a big change is, all the compromises on me, if you like. But it's also been quite isolating. We've only been allowed out just to race or to train. So it's been very, very different to a normal games. Obviously, cycling's been remote as well. So there's been a lot of time by yourself to, try and fill your time. And I've been very fortunate to be able to watch a lot of the games. And that's been really inspiring just to see teammates up here in Tokyo doing so well as obviously my cycling teammates who've been phenomenal. So yeah, it's been very, very different, and only having screen time to kind of interact with people. It's, I guess, a form of lockdown.
And have you had any screen time with Louisa and Charlie this morning? Because when we spoke to Barney, I don't think Charlie was even up yet.
Yeah, I spoke with Charlie. Louisa spoke with me on a Zoom call with breakfast, I think it was. So when I did a FaceTime with Charlie, she was upstairs playing. She'd already spoken to me, so didn't need to speak again. Very, very aware that I'll be home tomorrow. So I think, focusing on the things that she had planned for today.
Yeah, all the toys she's playing with, all the games she's got to play, no doubt. And Sarah, you've had such incredible success, for over 3 decades now. We say 8 Paralympic Games and 29 years before your first one, over 2 sports as well. How do you reflect on what you've done for the Paralympic movement and what you continue to do?
Yeah, I think the reflection will take some time. I can remember every single medal very, very clearly, certainly each of the gold medals in order. And the World Championships in between. I was able to, my first race abroad, the only race I did abroad this year before the Games was the World Championships in Portugal. And I reached my 40th world title. So it's been taking a while to get that to sink in. And now I'm, at the Paralympic Games for the 8th time. There's so much has happened, but we've also worked so incredibly hard, and we've had this sort of big jigsaw puzzle, and there's still pieces to fit to it. It feels like, Charlie hasn't been to a Paralympic Games, and it's something that he really, he was really disappointed to hear that he wouldn't be coming to Japan. Both Louisa and Charlie had books about Japan and were really involved with the idea of being out here as well. So hopefully over the next 3 years, we'll be able to make another plan to continue to build this jigsaw puzzle, if you like, and to have that opportunity to go to the Games as a whole family.
So that's confirmation then. You are not done yet, and you are heading to Paris in 3 years' time. We can take that as a yes.
Yeah, I keep saying I want a really big bike ride. I want to leave London and head to Paris on a bike ride with everybody. So I don't know if that'll ever come true, but I just think it'd be a really cool way to arrive at the next Games.
Yeah, it would indeed. So lovely to speak to you today. Massive, massive congratulations from everyone here at Sky Sports News.
Thank you.